Can you explain to us what E18e is and where it started?
Yeah, so some time ago, I think maybe like a year and a half ago or something, there was basically a social thread somewhere where Bjorn, who was working on Astro at the time, and Anthony working on Vite, and I was sort of chipping away at cleaning up dependencies in a whole bunch of things. We all found each other in a thread of all places, and just started chatting about maybe we should have a space to discuss this stuff. And we have people like Marvin doing the speed up the ecosystem blogs as well at the same time. So maybe we should at least create a Discord or something, and we can, all work together on performance related open source tasks. And so from that, we created a Discord to at least discuss this stuff, which then turned into the E18e project, where we can, get more people involved and create issues and easier to pick up work for everyone else, basically, to expose the performance problems more, I imagine. But yeah, it all came out of just various people trying to improve performance in all sorts of different projects and not knowing about each other's work, basically. So it's been really good to connect those people and just provide a space for new contributors to get involved as well.
I feel like when this initially came up, before the initiative happened, and Discord and all that other stuff, it was like there was like a tweet or something about, oh, well, if you install this package, actually you get like this explosion of dependencies. And there was like a lot of discourse on that. And, it kind of it's like was the JavaScript drama of the day, as it usually is. Um, and so were you like already working on this problem before that sort of had happened? Is this something that was already on your mind, or was there like a moment where you're like, okay, like I can get in and like do something about this, or like how was your involvement started?
Yeah, so it was the big drama at the time, but long before that, I'd sort of been contributing individually to a bunch of projects to reduce dependency trees at the time, and I kind of started doing that maybe like 4 years or so ago, and there's like a trail in my GitHub of various attempts of creating, like lint plugins and other tools to help you out with this stuff, and none of them really took off. So I carried on doing the PRs myself, but that was long before E18e, and then E18e started, and maybe like a few months in, or 5 to 6 months in, this drama began. But it did help a lot actually to add some visibility to this stuff, and we got a lot of people involved that wanted to help out because they'd seen this. But yeah, ultimately the dependency tree stuff is because certain projects do actually need to support really old versions of Node, for example. The hot path in terms of like the dependency that most people pull in doesn't really need to support that far back. So the whole thing was to create alternatives rather than trying to get rid of whatever it is that's pulling all those in. Which I think has, mostly been successful. In a lot of cases, we've contributed upstream as well. So, but you don't need to create an alternative because quite a lot of maintainers are happy to, increase the engine constraint, for example. But there's always going to be some use cases where packages like the one that had the crazy dependency graph do actually have a use somewhere, just not in the sort of mainstream projects. The common use case doesn't need to support Node 1, for example. So as long as we have alternatives, we can massively reduce the dependency tree depth, essentially. And if you really do need that stuff, you can still pull in, the one that supports old versions. But yeah, ultimately the drama did help drive a lot of the effort. But we were already working on a lot of this stuff for a long time before then.
When people think performance, I don't think they typically think like dependencies in my graph. I think they'd usually think like actual like runtime performance. So like why was this tree problem seemingly the first thing you guys went after, and like what real world like benefits does reducing the tree like that have?
Yeah, so it's different for each project, obviously, because we're trying to improve runtime performance, but also, the developer experience, performance from that point of view. So the install sort of size, for example, affects developer tooling more than it affects runtime, because you would generally bundle things, so you will tree shake and everything anyway. And similar, like if you have a deep dependency tree, it adds complexity for the DX side of things, but doesn't necessarily affect runtime a massive amount. But then you have ones that are in the middle where uh, they're increasingly deep, but also have a lot of older code in there that could be modernized because the platform's moved on since. So if we can improve those packages or create alternatives that lean on more modern primitives and things like that, built-in functions and stuff, then you're going to improve the runtime performance and the DX in a lot of cases. And some of these will also be like if you improve bundlers or tools that output code that's going to happen at runtime. But yeah, we still obviously have a lot of cleanup happening where it just affects DX. But that's still important because you could be pulling down maybe like hundreds of megabytes of install size when actually you only pull in maybe a few megabytes worth of it in reality, or something like that. So it does still matter quite a lot.
So when you're talking to people about like just learning how their packages are being used or understanding the dependencies they're using, like what are the like quick tools that you just give someone to say, like, here's how you know what your state is, like what your health of your project is?
Yeah, so at the minute, it's one of the tasks that we're trying to work on quite a lot recently, because there's a big list of tools. Basically, we have a page on the e18e website called resources, which basically links a bunch of these tools. But these days, like the most common two that we would use are the node modules inspector, which Anthony created, and the npm graph website, which visualizes the dependency tree. But there's also things like package size.dev, which tells you how big the install size is, and like bundle phobia like tools to tell you what the runtime size would be and things like that. But yeah, at the minute there's like quite a lot of tools and not much connecting it. So we do have some work going on to create like a unified CLI and library which joins all these together. Because you should be able to run this against your own project, and just get some summary or report or whatever that tells you if there's warnings from any of these. But yeah, admittedly, it's a bit difficult at the minute. You just have to know like the big list of tools to go to. Unfortunately, that is documented, but it could be better, obviously, if it just works from one place. But yeah, check out the resources page because that is super useful. And we have like lint plugins and things like that as well, which help. And like upcoming tooling, things to do with build plugins and bundle analyzers and things like that.